Hello and welcome to another wonderful episode of Overlord Explained. I'm Shergog, your host, and we will be discussing the 11 world-class items of Ainz Ooal and their incredible abilities. These items are part of the 200 strongest items in the entirety of Yggdrasil Online, and are referred to as world-class items or as wild magic by the Dragon Lords. But before we delve into the details of these 11 items, I would like to take a moment to thank my dear patrons for this tremendous support I'm receiving and for choosing today's topic. Also a big thanks goes out to all users of the YouTube thanks function who made one-time donations. Now with that said, let's get to the main event. Firstly, all 11 world-class items possessed by Ainz Ooal, as well as all other world-class items, have two extremely useful abilities. First and foremost, these items grant complete immunity against wild magic, the original magic of the dragons. Similarly, wild magic seems to render the users immune to other wild magic effects as well. Curious. Additionally, the Dragon Lords recognize and refer to these world-class items as wild magic, rather than tier magic. Secondly, these world-class items also provide immunity against the effects of other world-class items, and Ainz Ooal mentioned in the third volume that the primary benefit of the world-class items, or the main way to use them, is to counter other world-class items, both passively by wearing them and actively by utilizing their abilities to counter the abilities of another world-class item. But we will get to that later. Furthermore, it appears that players, or rather beings who travel to the new world, needed to be in the close proximity of a world-class item in order to be transported in the first place. And now let's discuss each individual item. We will start with the Red Orb of Ainz Ooal. It has the confirmed ability to be highly effective against dragons, which is likely a reference to the Orb of Dragonkind from Dungeons & Dragons, which could summon and control chromatic dragons. The Red Orb is positioned in such a way, inside of Ainz Ooal, that it also could be mistaken for a phylactery, a soul vessel of a lich. In the web novel, Robert Dyke even attempted to exploit this perceived weakness of Ainz and to destroy the Red Orb with a well-placed hit of his gauntlet. But his armored gauntlet shattered in 1,000 pieces, and Ainz informed him that half of the players and NPCs who invaded the Great Tomb of Nezuric at this time of the Great Raid died due to this very world-class item. And even in the current novels it is confirmed that the Red Orb possesses other abilities that are currently unknown. Next in line we have Kinunga Gap, also known as True North. It is named after the chasm in Norse mythology, and Kinunga Gap has the ability to transform, allowing it for example to take the form of Albedo's Berdish. However, the world item itself is weaker than Albedo's normal weapon, but on the other hand, Albedo was able to break through Platinum's world-separating barrier, using Kinunga Gap. In its true form, Kinunga Gap is a floating sphere, mounted on a staff, and as the first world-class item discussed, it gained a certain amount of attention right at the start, because Tabula Smaragdina, one of Ainz Ooal's fellow guild members, equipped Albedo with this powerful weapon, without Ainz Ooal's knowledge, because normally all guild members should have voted on the deployment of a world-class item. This slight rule violation by Tabula led Ainz to, of course jokingly, modify Albedo's character description on the last day of Yggdrasil Online, stating that Albedo was now infatuated and madly in love with Momonga, aka Ainz. However, the true power of Kinunga Gap lies not in its transformation ability, but in its incredible effectiveness against buildings and structures. This makes it extremely dangerous in the hands of Albedo, who has a secret plan that remains unknown to this very day, and who is visibly hostile to Nezuric in her private moments. Moving on to avarice and generosity. This world item is currently in the hands of Mare. It was bestowed upon him when Ainz Ooal wanted to make sure that the mind control incident Shaltir suffered through could not repeat, and therefore he started distributing world-class items to the Floor Guardians in order to prevent such an incident from happening again. Avarice and Generosity has actually two abilities. The demonic Everest glove represents greed, and it absorbs experience points, allowing for the accumulation of a tremendous amount of EXP in Yggdrasil Online. This feature is extremely advantageous as players can continue to gain experience even after reaching the maximum level of 100. However, they can only accumulate up to 90% of the experience required for a purely theoretical level up to 101. This safeguard ensures that players do not automatically lose a level when using abilities or spells that would consume experience points, such as summonings, for example the summoning of a powerful undead. Nevertheless, there's now a strict limit to the number of experience points that can be stored in this normal way, which users of the world-class item can bypass, which makes it very valuable for Ainz, since now Ainz could, without losing a single level, summon extremely powerful undead at greater quantities. And the user of this item can also accumulate so much experience that they could theoretically raise a level 1 player to the level of 100 and spam EXP consuming summons like it is nothing. And this ability to release all of the stored experience points again is represented by the other angelic glove, Generosity. And since even weak opponents, such as very weak soldiers that the Kingdom of Igeas had employed in its army, the death of hundreds of thousands of soldiers can still provide a substantial amount of experience, despite the individual weakness of each soldier, which is also why Mare had been brought to the Cuts plane by Ainz Ooal in the first place. Continuing directly with Aura's world-class item, the Depiction of Nature and Society. This world-class item always reminded me of the best Naruto arc, and I think you know why. Depiction can transport monsters, NPCs and players into one of 100 worlds. Once trapped in this world, one not only faces various dangers such as lava worlds or vast deserts, but one also has to contend with the NPCs inside the world item, because after a certain time reinforcements will spawn with approximately 60% of the captured enemy strength. This means that whoever had been captured must now expand massive amounts of resources and items to fend off these enemies. Meanwhile, the world-class item user can either relax and watch as the enemy runs out of items and potions and depletes their mana reserves, or they can personally join the battle. However, this world item is not without its disadvantages. If a group of captured enemies manages to find a way out of this labyrinthine world, they also escape with it. In other words, every use of the world-class item could potentially lead to the loss of this world-class item. And as you can imagine, Ainz Ooal, aka the Guild of Momonga back in Yggdrasil, obtained this item for themselves in this particular way. Next in line is the Throne of Kings, a world-class item obtained by Ainz Ooal, the predecessor organization of Ainz Ooal, after overcoming a great challenge, namely the besting of a highly difficult dungeon, which, after all, would become the Great Tomb of Nezarec itself. The one who sits on the throne not only receives a boost to their stats, but also gains complete knowledge of the location of enemies and allies within the dungeon, or rather the Great Tomb of Nezarec. Furthermore, the throne provides an overview of their stats and other related information. Finally, it completely blocks teleportation and divination magic within the throne room. And now let's move on to the 12th of the 11 world-class items of Ainz Ooal. Now, this isn't a reference to the 9 pieces of 8, but this world item that is now lost is called Atlas, and it is no longer in the possession of the guild since it was stolen. The theft led to a great mistrust towards potential new members within the Great Tomb of Nezarec, as well as some suspicion towards guests. And I have speculated before that perhaps the 8 great kings or one of the 6 great gods of Slain were involved in the theft back in Yggdrasil Online. And one of them might be indeed revealed as the culprit later on, which would bring a nice and neat closure to this storyline. And although we don't know much about this world item, its name alone suggests that it could have some connection to the world itself, because Atlas in Greek mythology was the titan who carried the world on his shoulders, implying that Atlas may have some abilities related to altering landscapes, changing the world, or do something else on those lines. Perhaps it is the reason why the world map resembles parts of the Middle East. Or it could also explain why the floating guild base of the 8 Greek kings float in the first place. And now let's move on to the remaining world items, of which we know the names, but not the specific abilities. And we will start with Igeas Chalice. As the Chalice of Igea, it likely possesses various healing abilities, as it is named after the Greek goddess of healing. Billion Blades is a world item worn either by Demiurge or Cocytus. It probably summons numerous floating swords or other weapons that can independently attack the enemy, just like the swords of Lachius can. Or even better, the various weapons of Platinum Dragonlord's armor. The caloric stone possessed by the guild is made from various ultra-rare ores, such as celestial uranium, and can serve as the core of a golem. And there's speculation that Albedo's sister Rubedo might be powered by this very world-class item. According to Ainz, Rubedo needed to be booted up, and the process of creating Rubedo was different from Albedo and the creation process of her sister. So there are some credible hints that this theory will be valid. Next is a world item formerly used by Auriel Omega that is now worn by Sheltier. And considering that Auriel controlled the teleportation network of Nezarec, and considering that Sheltier has a similar ability to this with her gate spell, that also lets her transport things and people with essentially a hole within the dimensions, creating what is essentially a wormhole between places. There is rightful speculation that this world item is related to teleportation and dimensional control. Lastly, Nezarec houses 2 of the 20. These are world items that are so powerful that they can even break the defense mechanism of regular world items. This means that even the wielders of world items or the Dragonlords themselves, again including Platinum, could be influenced by these 2 items. Their specific ability are unknown, but one of these items could potentially break Sheltier's mind control, meaning they are incredibly strong, hence why all of the strongest 20 world items are just one-time use, and they will disappear and reappear somewhere else after they had been utilized. And that concludes all 12 of the 11 world items that the Great Tomb of Nezarec could acquire during its existence. And with the attack on the Theocracy, Ainz might secure a 12th item, namely Downfall of Castle and Country. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching. Be sure to watch the first part and let me know what you're thinking about everything in this video, including the video itself, down in the comment section. And with that said, I say my special thanks to Order Daddy Order, Bad Guy Yi, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dragonlord, Plaxidus Saxophon, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feral Shivan, Guy with That Hat, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch Free Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Loverazor, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, Oh Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantum, Paz Sonich, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Cune Carcos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.